Yo, this is Dova Blackhat Gaming. I do RPG games like Elder Scrolls and Fallout and many more. Subscribe to see more and enjoy the video.
What was that? Miserable life.
I'm calling it. This one's in the bag.
I'll show you what.
Go now.
End your miserable.
Let's see how you like this.
It burns!
These are some tough opponents. Keep your guard up. Not very impressive. I think so. I tweaked my shoulder a bit in that last one, but I'll be fine. What the?
Bosca has let loose the machines of war. Now Selene has sent us her assassin. Atlas, you've betrayed me. This land can shapeshift to accommodate more inhabitants. There's no need for that now. I feel nothing but dread upon your arrival, Dragonborn. I'm without boastful words, the derisive bravado of a veteran of the Hammerfell resistance. Now I'm afraid. I've denied the inevitability of this moment for too long. This is the end. Are you as bewildered as I was when I first stepped into this paradise, wondering if this utopia is still on Tamriel? It isn't. Carved from the void, it is a land enraptured by bliss for eternity. A sliver of what might have come had its creator been true to her word. Only those blessed by the Creator are permitted to enter this realm. Purity, me, you. I have no say in the matter. That was her will. So when I die, the realm will be open to all to be tainted and ransomed. But when I die, the realm will live on. After all, I am not its creator. I'm the thing. What did I steal from royalty? I stole ambition, the courage to not settle for less. Perhaps I was a fool to think I was anything more than a pawn. I'm no savior. I've allowed others to chart my life. I've only followed. Not out of principle, but because it was destiny. She tricked me. Has she tricked you? I doubt it.
Die.
At least you're aware of the fall.
Just give up! You can't win!
When you are ready to end this war, I will be atop the citadel in the west.
Going to far now, huh?
Five. The last line of defense. Once you walk through that door, there will be no turning back. I should have died in 153. No home, no wealth. All I had was my younger sister. Now she's dead too. I intended to jump off the adamantine tower. That's where I met her. It would be a terrible thing to fall, she said. Celine II, my predecessor, my mistress. She gave me a reason to live. I had a purpose here in Project Purity. I was there in the Black Marsh when we unleashed the hissed weapon on the cleansers, causing the West Weld massacre. Celine II died in that battle against Corvus. That is where I became the de facto matriarch, even though Purity's true heir arose in the East. We had been abandoned, you see. It wasn't the first time Celine had died, nor will it be the last. Who was her reincarnation?
She's upstairs.
It should be obvious. Before you strike me down, I want you to understand what it will take to reach Sky's Divide. You must kill her, just as she sent you to kill me. It's the only way you can complete your odyssey. Now, proceed. Only now, after the fall of the Empire, the Great War, do the gods decide to send us their hero. All of Tamriel waged war after bloody war for 2 centuries. Incalculable amounts of young and old lost, yet the gods turned a blind eye. But when lust was rank in the air, when serenity and old purity aspired to expose the stark reality, they decried it as obscene. She was right. We have no choice in the matter. Your final objective stands before you, ready to die for her heresy. I am Matriarch Virgil of Project Purity, first Golden Maiden of Matari. You would listen to my final words. Now, do you understand what this has been about ever since the first attack on Jonestead? There was never meant to be a war between Sirens and Purity. Why would there be? This has been a game whose both sides were controlled by the same player. A woman I once served and swore an oath to obey. The one you now call both your enemy and mistress, without understanding why. It always begins with a woman and a lie. Selene the First, an Altmer noble, the founder of Project Purity and mastermind behind USSEP, unknowingly slain by Martin Septim's champion. Istis, an Ashen warlord who brought her people to the brink of freedom, only to betray them to their Saesi masters so they may remain slaves left in want. Selene the Second, another Ashen, and the provocateur of the Purity Pinder War that drove both sides to ruin on a quest for vengeance. At last, Matari, the savior we had all been looking for to deliver us from a life of agony she manufactured under different personas. To build an army. This world is our arena and our prison. Men will wage wars over trivialities for eternity, on behalf of the gods and kings that neglected them to begin with. They will die in conflicts that will endure millennia, spanning across eras under different monikers. It will be this way until the end of time, until all that's left is silence. But if someone were to escape their cage and rise above prophecy and destiny, they will become something more than a mortal, more than a god. They will be alive. It was a trickster that created Mundus, and it shall be a trickster that destroys it. From the remains a new world will be born, one not designed to suffer the horrors of even the most mundane lives. It would be an end to sorrow. Peace would be in abundance. At last, we would all be free. It's the only viable solution. Long ago, she believed rejecting the will of the gods would entail the destruction of their reality. Lust would have governed the land rather than war. Life would have continued its course of degradation all the same, but towards the opposite side of the spectrum. Eventually, men, in their infinite pursuits fueled by greed, would have repressed their memories of a life in which every day was to be cherished. And the meaning of excess was a foreign concept. The names of divinity abandoned, morality a broken chain, a diseased world left to be molded into something greater by the will of its new god. It was not her intent by failing to expose the bigotry of divinity. The Et-Ada, and even her spiritual descendants, you know as the Holy Matrons, they all rejected her vision. These same deities that confined mortals to a cycle of violence, some of whom reigned over their own realms of indulgence, either rose their hands against my former mistress or declared a stance of apathy. Why? Because the new world wouldn't be theirs to control. The hero of that age executed their desires unwittingly and killed Selene the First. And what was his reward? Godhood, along with all of its shackles. He now basks in madness, waxing nostalgic over the life he once lived as a mortal. Would he prefer to live life as a hero? No one can say for certain, but he would be remiss to have forgotten the sorrows we endure that outweigh those of a god. It is the natural order. She detests war as much as she loathes the rampant fornication stimulated by her creations. Among other abominations. To limit yourself to an ideal would be arrogant, and her mind values logic and reason over integrity. She uses war as a means to end all war. The very thing championed by gods will be turned against them, while still adhering to their sacred visions of the future. Her sirens would systematically dismantle the towers of royalty by song and bloodshed. For as many years as it would take, states and institutions would fall in a rapid succession that outpaces the recovery. It's a fate that will befall us, with or without her presence, as soothsayers, war poets, and the Elder Scrolls declare in usual ambiguous fashion. That certainty is a loophole to be exploited, and she substitutes key components of the end times so that it may arrive by her will. If the world dies by her will, it shall be reborn with her as its creator. Because she's a liar. You of all people must have heard its echoes in the void. Calling it a soul would be understating its magnificence, but it's the only word in our language that comes closest to describing it. Matari and all the avatars that preceded her answer to the raw source of knowledge and power that is imprisoned in the darkness. Salaquine. Salaquine cannot be defined by a dichotomy of benevolence. She's compelled by an intense primal instinct to have her physical and incorporeal states reunited. Her detainment is administered by the same forces that can only be undone through destruction. Whether her disciples ascend to the higher plane or are rewarded with paradise is peripheral. Salaquine will resort to any measure to secure victory, even if it means sacrificing us all. I refused to allow that possibility. I chose purity. Do you presume you were meant to? Why would they speak? If events had flown differently back then, maybe you would have come to us first, or we to you. When we learned that a man had defeated Bosca at Jonstead, we thought nothing of it. But when we learned your identity, it was already too late. You had joined her. After all I've said, you still don't understand. The audacity you have is infuriating, but I cannot hate you. To blame you for a fault that is not willingly your own, one that is part of your inherent design, is unjust. Salaquine knows this. Thousands of years walking amongst mortals in the form of avatars, learning their strengths, their deficiencies, has made her aware of the mechanisms that threaten her ascension. She is not the reckless adversary of songs and legends who fall without effort. She knows you better than you know yourself, hero. She will break you. I've said enough. Kill me and go. Go and murder your mistress. Her death will grant you passage to Sky's Divide. It does not matter. This will end on the Dwemer Fortress Island in the north, one way or another. Not anymore. If you have lingering questions, ask them now. One day you will depart from this world, and on your death knell I want you to know that your life was that of a pawn, nothing more. I don't mean to antagonize you or belittle your character. There's peace in truth. Would you rather die in ignorance, not knowing you lived a lie? No, it cannot. A line has been crossed. You're on an irreversible course towards fate's limits. No matter what happened or will happen, I'll always have more faith in Salaquine than in you, agent of fate. Nobody is perfect. Her avatar, Matari, may have made countless miscalculations, of which we'll never know. The most glorious strategies all have the capacity for failure, due to their sheer complexity. For the sake of us all, I hope hers doesn't. Not only have I never been to the Divide, it's also a sacred subject my former mistress wouldn't want me to discuss in great detail. A piece of advice before you strangle my throat for information. Void constructs roam the island freely. If you rely purely on magic, then I advise you to leave the heroes to deal with the machines. For now. You would ask something of me. Towards what ends would knowledge of my life serve you? The story of my life isn't worth sharing. After all, ever since I met her on the tower, I've been a dead woman. My new life is purity. I will never speak of those days. The nightmares will die with me. You've not seen war with Thalmor, have you? I do not mean the small skirmishes here in Skyrim. No, the Thalmor of the Hammerfell Resistance were ruthless, having learned the lessons of the Great War. They were emboldened from having their atrocities go unpunished, and when Hammerfell fought back, they became more forceful. No more. It must be a blessing to have divine guidance shield you from genuine cruelty. Life seems so wonderful to your eyes, but I wouldn't trade mine to have that gift. It would be a rejection of all that I stand for. Knowing reality, I can fight for those who would never be offered that choice. I did not practice the same tactics as the Ashen Harpies. They're attributed to lust. For me, it is war. My position in the Order of the Golden Maidens lost value as Matari returned from her voyages to Akavir with new members in tow. She kept me in the Order as a memento of my servitude to Selene and as proof of confidence. My task was to lead purity, and theirs was to protect the mistress. I was occupying a valuable position from afar. I suspect the woman known as Freya was granted significant power to pick up my slack and appease the maidens at Euphoria. There can only be 5 maidens at a time. It is a necessary rule Salaquine's avatars must abide by. Yes, before purity, sculpting was my tradecraft in Sentinel. It's only a hobby these days. It was a commissioned work from Matari. It's the best depiction of her primordial avatar I could muster, based on its brief appearance in the marsh where Selene died. By way of Matari's teleportation. As blasphemous as it is to some, that spell has its uses. Proceed. I will only speak of Selene the First onwards. I'm not familiar with those that preceded her. Selene the First founded Project Purity upon the prejudices and misgivings of other guilds. Her first followers were promised unfettered teachings of all schools of magic and alchemy. Their descent into the forbidden arts is what made USSEP seem so natural to their perverted minds. Selene the First died by her own accord, and in a last, desperate attempt, appeared in Valhalla to stop Serenity's surge towards Pazaroth. It is where her primordial avatar was vanquished by the hero of Kvatch. The gods had bested Salaquine, and USSEP died shortly thereafter. My statue captures its essence. It is the shell of a woman, nothing more. My mistress, for a brief time. She spurred purity towards war and disposed of the old ideals of might through alchemy. The technical prowess of purity's scholars brought forth many curios during her reign, but Selene II only cared about how they were used. Selene II's methodology for attacking the Pindars is difficult to explain in a concise manner. She moved her sons about the board methodically. Every blow to the Pindars was measured. Strike too hard, and they are outright defeated. Strike too soft, and purity assets are lost. Assets. That's all we were to her. Selene II wanted to raise an army out of the Pindars. It took decades for the cleansers to be born, yet it wasn't what she desired. I will never understand how Purity managed 118 years of fighting that only came in short bursts. Neither will I understand the full scope of Selene's plan. But war changes people, and I was only there for the final 3 years. She died in the Black Marsh, harvesting hist sap. Perhaps that failure altered the course of her future as Matari. There is little I know about Istis. The Ashen revile her and would erase all evidence of her existence if they could. Her very name has entered their lexicon as an expletive. I know she was an Ashen warlord that arose in Akavir following Selene I's death. She fought in the bloodiest campaigns of the early Fourth Era until she surrendered the locations of the Ashen Resistance's greatest leaders to the Sayesi. She never intended to emancipate an entire culture. She fought for their trust so she could put an end to an otherwise successful rebellion. You should ask her this yourself. Then know that Matari is not the most glorious of avatars, but it's one of Salaquine's last. The end approaches, and her role is to tie up loose ends. You may not have been present for her mortal birth in the jungles of Akavir, but you will be there for her death as a god. Proceed. There are many. We should make it brief. Serenity's Sirens is a shadow of its former self. Forget their history. They serve no Pindar legacy. For all intents and purposes, they are an Ashen army, along with a few Tamrielic stragglers conditioned to serve the Great Mistress. Matari needed to re-establish old connections with the Ashen, and the expeditions to Akavir took decades. She needed something to occupy Marcus's attention in the interim. Tales of an enigmatic woman taking in Ashen under her wing have reached the heart of Akavir. The folly of worshipping idols has been overlooked by the gullible children. History has repeated. Again they serve the same entity that damns their race to slavery. Ashen cry out for vengeance against the ephemeral oppressor, a label that can be applied to many things, from Sayesi to lore. The siren call of Matari will rally them to her side if she ever has a need of their service. Ashen are Akaviri, and they will fight like Akaviri. It's in their nature, masked and too easily dismissed by arrogant mortals focused on appearances. They will deem you a heretic, spouting vitriol about their mistress. What difference does it make whether they live or die? There are no records of the Akaviri race known as the Ashen. Some would say they never even existed. I'm not familiar with this woman. She joined after access to information on the Sirens was severely reduced by Matari in the past decade. If it is true she serves as her right hand, I have a supposition on her identity, but I will reveal nothing. She may prove to be an instrumental piece in Matari's plans. In conjunction with purity, they had their value. Alone, they're nothing more than another boorish band of mercenaries. The father of the tribe now has them holed up on an island, knowing the futility of their ridiculous quest of honor, justice, and every other cliché in their limited vocabulary. Everything I told you. They are a curious lot, but I'd never consider attempting to understand their ways. We thought the Void Knights had severed their connection to Nirn. Obviously that is no longer the case. Perhaps the Knights were not the sole cause of their abandonment of the Pinda family. Maybe there's a schism tearing their culture apart. Celine spoke to me of revolution. She said nothing beyond that word. I wouldn't be fixated on Serenity. She is a relic of a turbulent age whose lessons have been rendered obsolete in recent years. The observer you speak of is someone I believe would enjoy having Matare's plans go awry. Why she pushes you toward Matari is perplexing. A disciple. Only time will tell. Insignificant. Do not mind them. The Pinders are expired and will never again be pawns. They've earned their rest. I already stated that the Pinders earned their rest. Proceed. If it's knowledge you crave. Our history is over 2 centuries old. There are books in the archives that chronicle our rise and our fall. Seek them out. My recounting would not do my sons justice. Habits are durable. Abolishing harmless traditions would more likely interrupt lifelong routines. I've considered allowing women into purity, but Matari has eyes everywhere on the outside. The recruitment process would have been a tremendous risk. The great shame only served to remove physical evidence of our pasts. It was a period I ushered in after Matari returned from her final trip to Akavir in 190. Matari was fully occupied with the Sirens in their newly relocated main base, Euphoria Palace. There was absolutely no chance she would return to innocence, so I had all questionable artifacts of our past destroyed and smelted. It's also when development on the lethal variant of the Hist toxin began. advanced weapons of foreign design from Celine's mind that were used during the Pinder War. They had to be destroyed no matter their strategic value. They were impeding our concentration on the metaphysical aspect of our cause. Atlas said, if we ever had the opportunity to capture you, we should take it. Suppressing one like you is more feasible than an assassination. Assassinations never work. Here you are, as he intended, doing his work along with Matari's, purifying innocence of all its souls. All these years, I considered him to be my closest ally and a friend. In hindsight, I should have known that I would be betrayed in turn by someone, if not myself. Karmic retribution from Salaquine, I imagine. It was not my call. Atlas negotiated a deal with Bosca for additional men to defend innocence. I wasn't aware they wouldn't be men at all. We're virtually defenseless against void automatons. They absorb all magical attacks. My death will be felt by all of Purity's sons. The lost will take their own lives before Matari's sirens arrive to deliver a crueler punishment. Those who'd rather live for a while longer will flee this place as fast as they can. Their destinations will be unknown until they're fatigued. Purity will live on in their hearts as a figment of the past best left where it belongs. A handmaid. The position is a relic of Selene I's Project Purity, before the Golden Maidens and before women became marked for abuse. Most of my time in high splendor has been spent here in meditation. In times of peace, she managed my daily schedule. Proceed. They've all been decommissioned. All that's left is Innocence and the two that have been gifted to the Sirens. Innocence, once known as Moloch Khan, will remain as it always was, a myth. Only the intrepid explorers will find it, and even they will not be able to resist keeping it a secret. High Splendor, on the other hand, will crumble. Without its creator or her favorite guardians to tend its lush gardens, it will eventually merge back with the void. It was built using our resources, a prison for slaves, its purpose fulfilled 2 centuries later by Matari. It is a hive of decadence. The flies swarm to its poisoned mounds of honey. Realizing only in their dying moments they'd been lured into a trap. A defenseless stronghold leaving its guardians in a perpetual state of insecurity, a fear of war that remained elusive for decades. It also served as a bog of misinformation. Disconnected from the palace, it's where Matari claimed Zell resided, and where Serenity was heralded as an icon that could not be shown to the people, for she was a fraud. I still remember the day when we laid explosives at her shrine. It was my one assignment outside of Purity, and the only time I met the other maidens. I don't understand what Matari wanted to transpire out of us working together. Perhaps she needed to show them proof of my existence. Proceed. Speak those lethal words in my presence.
Here I am, as promised. Ah, what do we have here?
Dova. Haha! You're one of a kind, Commander. The sisters back at the palace will be jumping for joy. Can't believe it. One warrior taking down all of purity from within. Ah, the tales we'll weave out of this one. Now our work begins. Map of Innocence. Snagged it from a purity agent a while back, but it got lost in the shuffle. A real kick in the stomach for you, I bet. Probably didn't need it anyway. Mistress Matari wants us to secure the stronghold. We've got to clean up any remnant agents and then take care of the hissed weapon. You blew it all up? Okay, not what we had in mind, but at least it cuts down on our workload. How are we going to deal with Lilith now? She was going to help move the hist. Her idea. Now I'm not so sure. Nah, we'll find some use. Never hurts to have some extra arsenal in our back pockets. Don't know where it would have gone. All we were told was to take it to the Great Lift down in the Purity Work Facility. The tunnel network that's connected to opens up at the coastline. Maybe Cordinali? Whatever. Not my business.
Look, a snowflake. Look, another snowflake.
I can't believe it. I can't believe that you, of all people, would say that about Mistress Matari, about the woman that saved us all. Wait a minute. You defeated Purity. Alone. No. I'll be damned. I knew you were in on it. Sirens, we have a traitor to put down.
This is the end for you.
You don't stand a chance. I'll carve you into pieces. Not impressed.
I'll have your head.
You can't defeat
You
me.
should back your head. I swear I'll kill you. I've still got fight in me.
You're outmatched.
We are routed. Must have scared them off.
You didn't have to do that. I convinced them to keep me alive so I could help them. The moment I had the chance, I'd have done the same. Thank you. I know. We'll leave for the Divide right away. Something happened down there with Purity. What they said, do you believe them? There's something different. Meet me in Dawnstar. I'll be there trying to procure a ship, while you deal with Matari. If they're not urgent, save them for later. There's a better place for us to talk than up here with the dead sirens laying around. You know what you're doing. If killing Matari now, somehow, at the palace is mandatory, then I believe you. Will the outcasts be on board? Then I'll stay in Dawnstar as planned. I doubt they'd be happy to have an Ashen in their company longer than necessary. Command... I mean... Dragonborn. No need for ranks now that we've gone rogue. Promise me that if it comes down to saving my life again, or stopping Matari, you won't let emotions get in the way. The mission comes first. One person is nothing compared to what's at stake. Then pray we don't find ourselves in that sort of circumstance. May the Divines guide you to victory.
I know an up-and-coming backstabber when I see one. Just hurry up and get off this rock. I'll see you at the palace.
I'm no fan of the sun, but it would be better than this.
See you burn!
Force Roda! Ow! Take this!
I was hoping it wouldn't smell this bad.
Whatever you did obviously worked. Lifts are up and running again. Never a disappointment with you lending a hand. No one was behind me. All the overseers went further into the cavern, probably to stop you. The prison must be abandoned now. Give it a few hours and I'm sure anyone else still alive down there will resurface. They've got the lockpicks, they were just lacking the fighting spirit. I don't know. Jones said it was meant to be my last stop. Now? Bah. Somewhere close to the sea, maybe. Not in Skyrim. Somewhere warm. I'm going to stop by that small town over there, across the bridge, and get some rest. When I'm feeling ready, I'll take the first carriage out of this province. Don't take this the wrong way, but goodbye. For good. Azura willing?
While I don't like Riften, the rift is truly something
Oh
else.
no.
Just
What's wrong?
Look at these leaves. You don't typically
Well,
see anything like
she
them
saved
anywhere
me.
else in Skyrim.
The orcs and Altmer woman were the last to fall. Too much even for them. The Pinder girl held back Bosca's men long enough for me to get out. Now I know this isn't what you want to hear, but she did well that day. More than most any of us among the living could. I'm sure her father would have been proud. I hid in an outcrop not too far from the town, waiting for someone like you to help. That's how I got picked up by an overseer and dragged into prison. Funny how we ended up in the same cell, There's stories of how... Forget it. I only talked to the man a few times, but I'm sure Marcus would be the first to say everything happens for a reason. Even if it means the death of his daughter, or our encounter in the cells. Maybe not content, minimum he'd be is accepting. It always works out in the end. It's a guarantee. That's the reason why the town was always barred access to weapons. Never put up much resistance, but here I am casting aspersions on the poor fellow post-mortem. Maybe it's just me having lived through one too many catastrophes, but isn't it all so extreme? Don't run off and claim this sage advice or a cure for our ails, but what this place needs is a dose of common sense. Someone to show young ones how to walk a line of pragmatism. Look, what I'm trying to say is that I don't want you going on some sort of revenge crusade for anyone. I'm looking out for my own skin here. First time was a jail cell. I'd hate to see what would be next. Take care of yourself for once.
Wow. I still can't imagine that we set foot in a snow elf enclave.
Hope everyone
The
enjoyed the
Forgotten
video.
Vale was
Like,
amazing.
comment, and subscribe. And hit the bell icon. See you all on the next video. Enjoy life.
Yourself.
And stay.